Hello and welcome to Coffee with Carey. Thank you for stopping by today. This is not a new phrase. You've seen it around breadcrumbing. But just in case, I thought that we should maybe just talk about what it is and being able to recognize signs and what to do in those situations. So that's what's on the agenda today. Breadcrumbing. Maybe I should offer a trigger warning that before the end of this episode, you may be craving toast. I don't know. I love toast. My super bread from Trader Joe's. Just love it. Anyway, breadcrumbing. That's what we're talking about today. I hope you'll stick around. That's what's on the agenda. You may have seen it. I've seen articles written about what it is and how it's become an epidemic, and people are just less likely to commit and just do breadcrumbing or some of the other terms you probably know. Ghosting's been around for a long time. Breadcrumbing came after ghosting. And if you were a little bit older, if you're my age or so, it's what we in the 80s called leading someone on, sorta. It involves leading someone on, but really kind of just enough that we kind of keep them on the hook. Keeping someone on the fence, stringing them along. Sometimes it manifests as, I don't want you, but I don't want anybody else to have you, which is really rude. But those are some of the ways I would describe breadcrumbing. How does this work? Well, the person who's breadcrumbing you is doing little things to make you believe that they are intrigued by you, that they are interested, that they still want to date you, but they're not doing the things, the actions that would make you believe that they're interested. So it's a little bit of gaslighting, if you know that term, right? You think, am I crazy? This person keeps saying they want to see me, but they're never calling to make plans when they say they will. But then when you forget about them a little bit, there they are, popping right back up saying, oh, I've missed you. I'd love to get together. And you're like, oh, they do like me. So it's a little bit of, am I crazy or am I getting mixed signals here? In reality, this is empty promises, false expectations. It's actually quite abusive, as is gaslighting somebody. It's not a nice thing to do, but I think people don't often realize the ramifications of what breadcrumbing does to somebody. Obviously, some people are bad people, but I think sometimes in breadcrumbing as opposed to ghosting, where you know you're not showing up, you know you probably weren't going to show up, and how rude to make that decision to not show up. In breadcrumbing, I think at the beginning sometimes this person doesn't always recognize what they're doing, but when they do, it's evil. I think often you'll see this in narcissists, right? They just want to keep you engaged with them so it makes them feel good. It gives them, that warm feeling that somebody really likes them and is still interested in them. I don't want you, but I don't want anybody else to have you. That's a narcissistic attitude where somebody wants you for themselves, even though they don't want to put in the effort to be a partner to you or be a responsible, reliable date for you even. Number two, this pattern of disappointment and manipulation feels like a roller coaster very often. You're up and thinking that they're into you and making an effort and want to see you, but then suddenly they disappear and they're uninterested and you're not hearing from them. You have hope and then you're disappointed. But the key here is to set healthy boundaries for yourself. Boundary setting means that you will make it very clear to this person that this is not what you're looking for. You're not going to accept the type of behavior that they're putting towards you, and that if they can't be relied upon or follow through, that you're moving on. You don't have time for this. So setting healthy boundaries, very important in dealing with somebody who's breadcrumbing you. If you need more information about boundaries, I have an episode on that, or read an article. A lot of miscommunications and things that keep a relationship from moving smoothly along in a fashion that we would think is normal and healthy and easy. So this is a situation, again, where you have complete control of what you're willing to accept. And I say don't accept breadcrumbing. Set your boundaries, put a line down, and don't let anybody cross those lines. That roller coaster ride of hope and then being let down and the disappointment always makes me think of in the movies when they show like a deadbeat dad who never shows up for his kids. The mother's always saying, of course your father loves you and he'll be here this weekend. And then the weekend comes and you see the child sitting on the front step with their little bag waiting for dad to show up and he doesn't. That's sort of the feeling that I equate with being breadcrumbed, that you're excited, you're ready for a date, but then nobody shows up. Nobody calls to confirm the plans. It was an idea that was tossed out there or a promise made, and you have hopes that it's going to happen, but it never does. And I feel for people whose boundaries are less developed or they never really had to set boundaries, it becomes a kind of a case of chasing the carrot, right? Somebody's dangling something that you think you want in front of you and you are going after it because it looks enticing and somebody's saying the things you want to hear. But in the end, it's just the carrot keeps moving because this person really doesn't have the intentions of getting to know you better, of dating you, or turning that into some type of a relationship. For some people, that means trying to prove that they're worthy of what the other person is offering. And that's where it gets a little sticky because you have to have strong boundaries and you have to have that self-esteem to know that you deserve better than this. Breadcrumbing is not what anybody deserves. So if you feel that you're a person who could succumb to breadcrumbing or it's happened to you before, I just urge you to look into boundary setting, get a book on boundaries, or read a couple articles online and figure out how to make that line in the sand and not allow anybody to step over it if they're not going to treat you the way you would want to be treated and probably the way you treat other people. Often people without boundaries are very giving people and they can't relate to the fact that somebody would appear to be caring and giving and showing interest, but then drop the ball and not actually have that follow through. It just doesn't kind of register for somebody who does not have that in their nature. And the reason people would think this has more to do with someone who's a narcissist is because this person takes advantage in that they are sometimes available when they have nothing better to do, or it will serve them some way. So it's all about them. And I think sometimes you can tell that this person, even getting to know you, the dates, the conversation, everything seems to center on wanting to build them up after a while. It's not about you. They may compliment you just to like kind of draw you a little closer, but inevitably you can see that everything leads back to them. It tends to always turn around and have you feeding their ego. And they may give you a compliment, but they're trying to suck 10 of them out of you to build them up and put them on a pedestal. And inevitably, once they get their fill, they're just likely to abandon you and move on and disappear for a while, throw a breadcrumb here, a breadcrumb there. Oh, that's what breadcrumbs is. What nursery rhyme or fairy tale? That was Hansel and Gretel leaving the breadcrumbs behind them so they could find their way back home from the witch's house, but the oven. Don't get stuck in any ovens with a breadcrumber. Remind yourself that you're too good for this. You don't want to be a hanger-oner. You don't need to see where this is going to go or if things are going to change. You've had enough immediately once this pattern is recognized. Because you know what's really the worst thing about hanging out with somebody who's breadcrumbing you is that they're keeping you from getting out there and meeting people who could in fact be someone you would connect with, somebody who truly was interested in getting to know you. Your time is valuable and you need to be with somebody who's going to appreciate you and enjoy your affections and being available to them and prioritizing them in your life. So bye-bye, toodaloo, see you later, so long, breadcrumber. Anyway, that's what breadcrumbing is, and that's the best way to deal with it, just to not even entertain the breadcrumber any longer than you have to, and that is immediately after recognizing what's going on. And keep a lookout for it. You know all the signs now, so that should be a lot easier. I hope you found that helpful or interesting. If you did, give the episode a thumbs up like my little mama's telling you right there. If you subscribe and hit the ring bell, then you're notified every time a new episode goes live. I'll look forward to hanging out again with you sometime soon. Until then, thank you again, and have a good one.